how are you all doing? I hate calling these mental health chats because that sort of reduces everything down to something that we all think we know what it means and none of us really know what it means. I always know when I most need, say, an AA meeting or I need to talk to someone about my ments. I always know that I'm struggling when I do everything in a nice way to prevaricate around doing it. So I was toying with going live for this, then I was like, no, I'll pre-record it. Because of the slightly wild west nature of social media, I've elected to go pre-recorded. I'm just going to share with you where I'm at and where we're sitting. We're sitting on April 26th. We're on the cusp of essentially being completely free, or freer. I mean, freedom is, you can taste it, can't you? You can smell it, you can feel it. And obviously, before we went into this coronavirus crisis, none of us would have wanted to be told so many elements of our lives were going to be limited. Once we were in it, I think so many people found a strange source of, and I'm going to use this word choicely, a sort of strange source of comfort from it. Not a comfort from the fact that we were all scared, we were all worried, people were dying and all that kind of stuff. Obviously not. No, I mean, that would be stupid. But a comfort from the fact that a certain number of choices and a certain number of comparatives and, the ability to compare and contrast so many elements of your life with others had been removed. At its simplest, fear of missing out. And I think fear of missing out, FOMO, is one of those funny little acronyms that I think gets to the heart of an awful lot of things. I think everyone in every walk of life feels or struggles with or tries to manage not comparing themselves to others or being compared to others by others. And that's very easy often, as parents, we say to our kids, don't worry what other people think, or Nadia's line, those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind. That's all well and good. But often it does matter, and often it does affect you, and it does bother you. So this isn't a chat about alcoholism or addiction. This is a chat really about the fact that it's all right to feel totally at flux and at sea. It's all right to feel scared and worried that we've, on the one hand, been dealt a really rum hand because, of course, the deaths, the virus, the economic issues, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we've also been offered a moment to pause and take stock. And I think there's an adage in AA and a lot of recovery speak, which is, you need to sit with your feelings. I mean, we watched the Riz Ahmed film yesterday, Sound of Metal, which is as much about addiction as it is about him losing his hearing. And there's a point where he has to keep repeatedly going into a room in his rehab, essentially. He has to go up to a room and he has to sit there and just sit with his feelings and just write what he feels. Everything about modern life is, or was before COVID, designed to make us, distract us away from feeling our feelings. Everything is designed to distract us from feeling our feelings. And the difficult part of that is, when I'm at my lowest and I'm having a low day today, I want to be distracted from my feelings. I don't want to sit there, and it's not about analysing. It's not about sitting there and navel gazing and being self-indulgent and all those kind of things that I think a lot of people who just, fine. A lot of people live their lives thinking mental health is an indulgence, or mental health issues are an indulgence, or addiction is a lifestyle choice, or overeating is a lifestyle choice, or social anxiety is just get a grip, shut yourself down, get on with it, and all that kind of stuff. They're just not people that interest me. They're not people who are plugged into the same things that life is about for me. As I sit here sort of in a state of awkwardness with myself, I think that's how I feel. I feel awkward because on the one hand I need to sit with myself, and on the other, to sit with myself is to feel, unfortunately, the futility of a lot of things, or not the futility of life, not the futility of carrying on or being a parent or doing your job or whatever that is, but the futility of old narratives, of old purposes, of what are we doing and why are we doing it? If we're feeding our kids, if we're looking after our family, what am I doing for me as well as what am I doing for my family? What is the purpose? Is the purpose of life to simply, and you get one crack at it, is it to simply pay off your mortgage and retire? If so, that sounds so fucking unexciting on so many spectacular levels. Is that really what we're given one opportunity of life for? Pay off your mortgage, or if you're lucky to get a mortgage, and retire? People understand that narrative. It's funny, isn't it? People understand the narrative. It's like we all have to tick the certain boxes of what the prescribed journey is. Because if you know, and I remember my nan being a bit like this. If this is the journey I had to take, this is the journey everyone has to take. And I think it's really important. I'm not just talking about the work you do, or the jobs that you do, or the people that you are with, or the social lives that you lead, or whatever. But, you know, for example, you know, as an arty family, we've always been in the arts. We've always been creative. We've always made things. We've always innovated around things like writing or editing or filming or acting or singing and all those kind of things. Now, to anyone else out in the world who doesn't understand that thing, that's bonkers. That's total madness. But to us, it's what we know, it's what we do, and we've managed to lead our lives doing that. But, you know, I think we sit at this point as we're about to come out of lockdown, and we are entitled to ask ourselves, hang on a minute, in what ways does the system actually work for me? In what ways do these narratives, these pressures, the things that create FOMO, where you're sitting in an office at a desk with loads of people all kind of charging and chasing for the same promotion or the same target, and, you know, what is that about? I think it's all right to question things. I think it's all right to feel at sea. You know, I think it's really important that we are all allowed to feel both things, both excited and scared. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. The things we're most excited about are the fun bits. Seeing friends, seeing family. They pivot around emotions. The stuff we're not looking forward to, and this includes for kids, is the technical stuff, the practical stuff, the going to school, the returning to you know, 4-hour commutes and stuff like that. You know, I remember years ago having to commute to Bristol every single day. You know, God, you know, if you have the opportunity to remove that due to technology, why not? Why not take it? So what am I talking about? What am I rambling about? I need to open my mouth today, and I need to say to myself and to you, pull the dogs off. Pull the dogs off yourself. Don't prejudge yourself before you're back into this world. Don't feel harried and rushed and chased and stressed by other people having some opinion on the way you should be doing what you're doing for your life. If people want to judge, it's usually because, you know, they themselves are unhappy or resentful over what it is they're having to do. And I think that really helps sometimes if you're, you know, having to more gently come out. I mean, a lot of people on a social perspective have kind of rushed. I saw an article today about, you know, the people who've kind of rushed out into the social network and those who've kind of need a bit longer to kind of wait and not come out quite so fast. You might be both of them. You might rush out socially, you might want to see everyone, and you might be exhausted by it. You might be stressed by it. We don't need to be half so competitive with each other. You know, life is for living. It's not for getting over the finishing line faster. There ain't going to be anyone at the end of your life, certainly not the people that you feel are perhaps saying, oh, well, I think she needs to go out a bit more. Oh, well, I think she needs to get to terms with things a bit more. Oh, I think he needs to kind of, you know, he needs to man up a bit. Those people are not going to be on your deathbed. Those people are not going to be at the pearly gates of heaven as you cross the threshold. And so many people have got in touch with their creative selves in lockdown. It would be a crying shame that because the system doesn't value them, that everyone turns their backs on them. So I would argue, you know, try and keep your foot in those things that you've discovered, in those passions. I know of someone who's just jacked in her job in a school in order to pursue something that's always been an ambition of hers and a dream. And that's a risk. But is it not better to live and take some risks than it is to sort of hunker down and just observe the next step forward, because that's the next step forward that everyone says, that society says you should pursue? I think it's a really important time right now to be kind to those who want to go at a different pace, to be kind to those who want to choose a different route, and to be kind to those who, for whatever reasons, need to take a breath, need to take a pause, need to reflect on things. And for some who just decide they don't want to go that route ever again, I think that's all right too. So yeah, you know, your mental health at this point, my mental health at this point, I have days where I'm absolutely brilliant and I'm absolutely driven and I'm excited and I see the potentials of us coming out of lockdown and everything that can be done. And then I have other days of crushingly low self-esteem where you're just like, oh, what is the purpose of doing this? Why am I doing this? Is this connecting with people? Is this resonating for people? Does this mean anything? Does it matter? You know, the age-old question, does any of it matter? And of course it does on another day. It's all about where you're at in that day. It's don't make decisions and don't make choices based upon one occasion of feeling something either, because that way lies, you know, stress. And don't feel hurried. I would say don't feel hurried. I mean, I'm saying all of this as if it's advice. This is what I'm saying to myself. Don't feel hurried and don't feel harried, though I spend most of my time in a rush. But it's really important if you can factor in those moments. You know, one thing I remember being told to do in rehab, which was really useful, is every morning to wake up, write down three things, just three things that I was grateful for. A very short gratitude list, not a great long thing. And then what we would have to do is post them into a letterbox, and we'd never see them again. And that was the purpose of it. You were forcing yourself to think about the three things that you were grateful for. And that helps take you out of this cycle. You know, and reach out the hand of friendship to anyone. Just reach, if you know someone's struggling, don't stand in judgment. You know, we did a Confessions of a Modern Parent recently with Gemma Oten, and she had a really good line on eating disorders, which is don't meet it with confrontation. Don't confront someone when they're in their compulsive behavior. Try and understand it, and don't turn to things like drink. You know, I mean, it's really hard to say this because, you know, there've been many occasions in the last 2 to 3 weeks. I was nowhere near picking up a drink, but I have been close at times to thinking, I just wish I could just forget, you know, not forget myself, but I just wish I could not feel so present. I wish I could not feel so alert all the time. Sometimes it's like my skin is just blistering with awareness all the time. Yeah. And you know, what would one do in the old days with that? Well, that's why they encourage you to go for a drink, go to the pub, all these things. That might, you know, if you don't have an addiction problem, that can be the solution, for sure. But I don't think it's ever the right way to solve that feeling. Anyway, I hope there's been something of use in this. As I say, sharing your experiences of where you're at with your mental health is 95% of the solution, really. So yeah, share back. Let me know how you're getting on. Wherever you can, enact buffer zones where you can just take control of your own pace.